the Jingluo system. I'm pronouncing it not correctly. It'll read like that, but that's not how it's pronounced. It's probably something like Jingluo or something like that. But oh, wait, let me see if I can get it. Do you see the duckies? I've been watching them since they're little tiny duckies. Little itsy bitsy duckies. I think it's like 2 families of duckies. Oh, they hang out there. Been hanging out since they're little tiny ducklings. So, the Jingluo system. The Jingluo system is fundamental to Chinese culture, medicine, established by, codified kind of by Huang Di and his era. But there's no way around the way that the terminology is put. You have the husband and wife relationship, grandmother, mother and son relationship, and these all correspond to the organs of the body. And now people will say like energies and this, that, and the other, and there's really complicated and very subtle kind of aspects to it. Like there's a concept of the sort of we don't really have a word for it. Sort of, we do. Humor, sort of the humor of the liver, or an aspect of that would be pull, which would be a soul, as we translate it, while the lung has a different kind of humor to it, and governs a different aspect of that aspect of the human. But this kind of system is founded in harmony with nature. So the husband and wife, and then there's grandmother, mother, and son. So if the son as an organ, for example, sorry, I was up real early. If the liver, which is the yin of the wood element, if that is damaged, what it means is most likely it's not receiving, it's probably showing signs of yang, of some type of heat. So it means that if there's real deficiency of yin to the liver, by whatever method that's happening, you will see it demonstrate too much yang, so it will be too warm. So there's ways that it can either be really damaged and fundamentally what we would think of biofeedback, that it's getting hot, and that would be actually a damaged liver. But most of the time it's what's called false heat. It's not getting what cools it. Now, what cools it is the substance that ends up coming down the lineage, in a way, from the mom, or from the grandmother through the mother. So in that system of medicine, it would then be that you would nourish the mother to nourish the son, and that would come from the grandmother. And that's how that mentality works, because that's what they saw in nature. That's what they saw people do. So a lot of this, so this is why transgenderism and gender theory and the gender sexual stuff, it would never translate into Chinese the same way, because they have no way of translating a concept that is defiant to the harmony of nature. They don't have words and ideas to contain something that asinine. This is what's hitting Eastern Europe too with gender sexualism. They don't have words for this. Arabic does not, Semitic languages absolutely do not have words for this. And so one of the things about that is that hate. Being that they have no words for it, it doesn't even make sense. It would be like calling the ground, the sea. Is it hate? Is it hate to just be like, this is just some ridiculous shit the weird round eyes say? These like weirdos from America. They just say these weird things, and they think I don't know what they think. I think they're talking about Unix. So is their mentality about it, which is somewhat like that now. If you know anything about what's going on in China, is that hate, or are you just not understanding them because you kind of hate them? You see how that works? See how quickly that can be turned around on you? Is it them hating you, or do you really hate them because you're the weirdo and they have no word other than weirdo? Or something along those lines, something negative, that there's no positive connotation. So this was something I was just thinking about, because earlier when I was talking about how you're always dealing with on the left, like these people who simply, their sources are just always garbage, and you cannot make them look up a good source. They just won't do it. It just doesn't matter, and so you even get into these debates that it's like, what's the point? Your sources are crap, and and that they won't know really solid fundamental information about like the subject matter. One of the ones, like say with gender sexualism, are the people who are always starting who start down this weird road of intersex people. This infinitesimally small number of people that absolutely don't matter whatsoever to anything, anybody, anywhere, at any time, and there's no point in even bringing it up when it comes to gender theory and queer theory, because it doesn't apply, because it's biological, it's genetic, it's a genetic abnormality. So you're comparing homosexuals to people with a severe genetic abnormality that keeps them from reproducing. Which, I mean, okay, maybe you're seeing a pattern there, but I mean, hey, that's you, So one of I was just thinking about that, so you end up with this issue of that the world of gender sexuality and all that's going to be stuck pretty much in the Anglosphere and in some parts of Europe, mostly Western Europe. So it's a fad that will die out, because nobody in the world's buying it. Nobody cares. Nobody's buying it. And it's sort of this thing that now everybody in the world is identifying with. Well, as America collapses, they seem to be like spiraling into some weird form of madness. I mean, not even the French are really taking this shit serious, like to the point where the French are like, no, we're not allowing this in our universities. This isn't going to be taught in our universities. Yeah. So at some point, one of the things that hit me about what is now coming up all the time with liberals is that they're constantly on this, the right wing and its hatred and blah blah blah. And so at a certain point, it's like, and Pearl really I love how Pearl nailed this girl, Pixie, because she nailed this. That she's like, why do you need to be right? Like, why are you a know-it-all? Like, you're being told by good sources about something you don't know. And so she just went through this just whole thing. Well, I don't know if the and it finally is really like, this is what my experience with then the anti-Trumper white liberal douchebag and shithead and dumbass is typically that you can't know what you're talking about because they are a bigot. Like you usually would be like, oh, well, no, if this person knows about a subject and they could list detailed information about it and this, that, and the other, well, I mean, they know about it. This is one of these things I just solidly, I was like, no, when somebody knows about a subject, they do. And that was the thing, is there was one person in particular that I'm like, okay, no, I when you speak about this subject that you absolutely know about, I figure you absolutely are telling me the best information you can. And it's a matter of me asking the right questions. because, of course, the source can't know what you don't know. So, you can't detect what somebody just doesn't know. So something that finally I was like, yeah, the only reason why you get into these situations over and over and over again, especially with the anti-Trump asshats, is that it was really that it didn't matter that I could speak in detail about subjects and then things would happen that I said were going to happen. Like, events turned out the way I foresaw. And it's like, no, it wasn't so much that I foresaw this, it's that I understand what the political interests of various parties are. I knew what the details around it were. I mean, this wasn't a guess, and this was my best sort of my best prognostication based on real information I had. And so finally, it hit me. I was like, no. When people do that, what they're really telling you is that they just don't. They literally, they're bigots. They are what you would define as a bigot. They don't think you can know. They just don't. Whatever it is that they think, if you correct them and you're like, oh, no, here's the information about it, they don't care. They don't think you can know. And that's what makes them a bigot. Eventually, this you start to see there's a pattern. There's always a pattern to the anti-Trump mind, to the liberal mind that has issues with. They don't know about Christian theology. Not really. Not really. And and so it's one of these things of like, no, the reason you think that is because you just don't like Christianity because you like drugs and sex, or you have bastards, you don't have any beliefs. This is, nothing is right or wrong, everything is just convenient or not, and so finally it just really occurred to me that I was like, because one of the things that at a certain point I started to find, I was like, that I said something, I said, well, no, the reason I have to take a lot of stuff like that and just sort of throw it out is because liberals always say that, yet they never really have evidence. And I remember thinking like, okay, sit back and, are you doing what was done to you? And then finally it was like, there was a number of subjects, I'm like, no, this is still that there's critical thing, like when it comes to crime, not going by the numbers of who commits crime to whom, against whom. This is just, the liberals just don't do this. Are blacks oppressed? Well, do they own property? Do they, have they always owned property? Have they, how long has it been? And so you could look back and you could be like, no. All of a generation ago, black people were thriving. Honestly, in the 50s, black wealth at a family, at a household level, was higher than now. And there was whole sections of cities that were black, and black people owned the property. There was a whole parallel economy during segregation, to the point that, you could find photos and visual images, and there's signs up and down the street. It's like you wouldn't believe. You would think like, oh, nobody would be shopping there because it's just blacks only, and but it looks way better than black neighborhood now, way better, in the fucking 50s. So this is just a matter of like, no. When you do the hard work and you do the research and the homework, and then you end up finding that like liberals kind of never do, and they're the people who cheated off of your homework in school. So you just start to really realize, and you're sitting there and you're thinking like, yeah, they cheat off your homework because they think cheating is normal, because they think everybody cheats. This is why you get like the women who just act like it's just super normal for men to cheat. And you're like, actually, that's kind of odd. Like, you've been cheated on that many times? Like, where did you meet these guys? Like, what was how did, like, because I think about it, I'm like, I remember in high school attempting to cheat, and I couldn't do it. I was really bad at it, and trying to run game, and I was like, yeah, and it's not even worth it. Like, after a while, you're like, this is actually really difficult. And then finally, I had a friend who, like, he was all about trying to run game on hoes, and it went horribly wrong one time. We had to sneak him out of his house, and it just was so bad. I mean, it was so bad, and that whole, oh, man, dang, that was all fucked up. And and this girl's in our house crying, and he's cheating, and it's like, oh, bro, dude, you got to come over here and get her, dude. Like, dude, no, this did not, no. And so, in the long run, this was just something that I'm going to keep bringing this up now and then, but it really is that, I mean, you really just need to it's not, oh, the Democrats are the real racists. Or, no, it's just liberals are, they are Democrats. They have the Yankee mentality of this demented wasp that has forgotten, that has lost their God. So they have religious fervor, but it's religious fervor of self-worship that they've gotten from a demented form of alternative lifestyles, and their demented Gnosticism and Vedanta and kooky ideas like that, and Wicca and stuff, where it's like, I'm a super powerful wizard, and stuff. And it's not even people in the martial arts world. Like, when you are in the martial arts world and you're around the people who it's like they're into kind of weirder stuff, even they will say, like, no, my teacher, blah blah blah, he pretty much stays around his little group of friends, and he's like, because if you encounter somebody like you, well, then you're both men of weird abilities and powers, supposedly. So you're going to have to fucking fight or something. And this is a famous thing among martial artists. And that the it's weird being around a bunch of old men who all, like, have known each other a long time in the world of martial arts. People who have been in tournaments and around the old guys, like, they know that it's still, like, yeah, he was pretty good. He was pretty good. He was good at what he knew how to do. All kinds of fan statements like that. And then there will be the person who, like, they into their 70s. This guy's still down to scrap. He's like, it's, oh yeah, but his kung fu wasn't so good, No, he knew the form. He knew the form, but his kung fu not so good. Not very strong. But yeah. So this was just something I was thinking about. All right, later.